All right, team. So today we're going to add the ability to like a project on my 4x4. We're going to set up the Prisma models and we're going to make sure the user is authenticated to validate the likes. So let's jump in. All right, let's go through what we're going to do. So we're going to add the button here to like a build. When you click it, it creates a new like. When you click it again, it unlikes it. And we also going to, when you are unauthenticated, we're going to jump you into the login screen. When you want to like this, login, yep, take you straight back there. And away we go. So that's it, that's all we're adding. So we've got our design over here that's been put together. And what you can see here, we've removed the thumbnails from the bottom here to clean this up, and then added the ability to like it over here. We're going to add comments later, but not today. And also we're going to show how many paths have been added because it's a big piece. And then we've cleaned up the description here and we've added the tags. So when you click these, it'll take you directly to the browse screen and the attributes. So this is all part of a general cleanup that we're doing on this page. But we'll concentrate on adding the likes. So let's get into it. All right. So inside of our project, the first thing that I want to do is I want to fix up or add the models to Prisma. So we can actually like something. We go project like, and it'll just be project likes. And then what we say is we have the project ID and we have the user ID here when it was created, and it's project likes. And it's unique to the project and the user, because the user can only like a project once. You can't like the same thing twice. So that looks good. So project like, similar to project page view in the way that it behaves. Cool, so that's as simple as the model is for now. So what we can do is we're gonna run Prisma migrate, run migrate. And what that's gonna do is run npx prisma db push. So we're gonna just run that one. And there we go, so it's now in sync. So now what we can do is we just pull up Valentina and have a look at what we've got. So if we just run our schema here, so we should have project likes, there we go. Okay, you can see that table, I'll bump. And then what that looks like is ID, project ID, user ID, created at, updated at. Cool, so all good. So that's all good, and let's just double check what do we have on our, do we have any indexes? So we've got a project likes on project ID, user ID key, and that's a unique. All right, so that'll just make sure that we can't have the same thing twice. Great, so that is our model. So we've got that in. Now what we want to do is we're going to jump into source server tRPC router. And now what we're going to add is a new router, and it's going to be project likes. Wow, likes.ts. And it's going to look very similar to this project page views. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab this. Okay, so now we're going to say project likes router. I'm just going to change all this, so likes router. Now, create a project like. That's cool. This is going to be a private procedure. So let's just jump into here and search where we've used this private. Looks like we haven't actually used private procedure yet. So if we jump into this tRPC file, you can see it here. We have it's called protected procedure, sorry. Protected procedure, there we go. So we've got this when you've got claim projects, you have this protected procedure, so we can grab that. So when you create a like, we're gonna use protected procedure because we want the user to be authenticated. You can't create a like without being authenticated. So then what we're gonna say is we're gonna create a project like, and similar to the project page view, we're gonna just pass up the slug because you're gonna be on the view page, and in the view page, we are navigating by slug. So we're navigating by the slug. So we're going to pass that up. So this will be slug, right? And then what we're going to say is we're going to say project inside here. We're going to create project like. We're going to pass the slug. We're going to say context Prisma project like create data. So what we're going to do is we're going to say connect the project where the slug matches. That's great. And then we're going to say user, right? So from here, we're going to connect it to the user. Now, the context user ID. Now, I don't know if that actually exists. So we need to see what we can do, where we can grab the actual logged in user's ID from the context. So let's jump into tRPC. So it's context.session.user, right? So what we need to do is go context.session.user.id, right? So what we're doing is we're creating a new model and we're connecting the project by the slug and we're grabbing the user who's logged in, and that is going to create a new like. Okay, so that's the first one. Then the next one we want to say we want to get likes. I guess it's the same thing. It's like get like, it's likes, like count or likes count for project slug. So we're going to grab the slug here. Then we're going to say project like count because we just want the number where the project slug is at. So that's great. So there we go. So we've created now the ability to create a project like and also get the likes count. So we want to now use these. So we're going to jump into our pages. We're going to jump into our project slug. We're going to jump to the index. So this is this page here. Now what we want to do here is actually, just for the sake of viewing or creating the likes, let us do a button. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new component inside of project, and this is going to be the like button, right? And then we're going to say component. This is the like button. And here we are going to grab that. Now let's just take this and I'm just going to write, we're going to import button here. Right, and this is going to just be like project. All right, so let's use this now inside of the project. I've got the like button, and I'm just going to, for now, I'm just going to shove it straight underneath the main image because we just want to see it. Cool, so we've got our like button there. Needs a lot of work, but that's all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to chuck in the project because we need to know what project we're liking. So we're going to pass that in. And let's just grab these types from here so we can use them again. And we're going to pass in the project. And then here, we've got the project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to for checking, we're going to just pass the ID in there. Okay, there we go. So we got the like project. Now what we want to do is we want to use tRPC, and we want to be able to create the like and also fetch the likes. So what I'll do is I'll just grab tRPC, right? And then what we're going to say is const create project like mutation equals. So I'm just trying to see that we're following the same here. Okay. We can actually just pull this out. So what I'll do is tRPC dot project like dot create project like dot use mutation. Yeah. Dot project. Where are you, buddy? Okay. Yep. There's some mistakes. So that what we need to do here as well before we continue is actually add our router in to the index. So we're going to just import that. So it'll be import project likes router. That's it. And then after here, we're going to go manufacturers. We're going to say project likes. That's it. Now we should have access to it over here. Project likes.create project like.use mutation. Perfect. And then we're going to say mutate. And this is going to be create project like. I'm just trying to follow the convention, and that's the function. Cool. So now what happens is we're going to add on click here. And what this does is it uses the create project like function and it passes in the data. So what we need to pass in here is the project ID, right? And this is actually not the project ID, this is slug. And this is going to be project.slug. And then we do need to see, is this, okay, so what we can do, so we can add the enabled here, but also realistically is we can just disable this button if no project.slug. So if it hasn't loaded yet, you can't click the button. Let us see what is going on here. There's something broken. This one needs a, there we go. All right. Now let's open up our console. Check out the network. Now when we click this button, let's create a like. So the payload is slug, and then our preview, what do we get back? We get data, and we get a new like. So for this project, for this user ID, it was created then. So now let's just jump into the DB. There we go. Cool. So now we can now create a like. That's wonderful. Now, the next piece that we need to do is actually load the like count. So I've also noted here, we also need to check if user has already created a like for this project, right? So if we load the count, we can't tell if the user's done it. So we're going to also need to fetch projects likes for a specific project and a user ID. And that way we can actually get a count and see, hey, this user has actually done something. So while we're talking about it, what we can say is get likes count for project slug. We can pass in the slug, but we can also have a variable here to say, give me the likes for this project where the user ID is also the same. So because we have the context here, we can say for current user, and that's a Boolean. Maybe we can even call it like current user only. Right, so now when we pass up that Boolean, we're going to add an additional filter. So to do that, we're going to say this guy. It's always a little bit hard working this backwards, so we're going to go there and there. Right, we're going to return there, and then we're going to say here const filters equals an empty object for now, but it's not going to be an empty object, it's going to be where project slug input.slug. So that's the default filters, right? So we're going to just shove those there, save that. Now what we're going to say is if input.currentUserOnly filters.user equals, that's what we want. Filters.user, user does not exist on project slug. Okay, so we need to cast this here. and tell it what type it is. Because what is the where filter usually? Okay, I have done this before, so just check for it. Here, Prisma. So we need to import Prisma, the type, and then we've got. So what we want to do here is we want to define what is the filter, what is the type of this filter, so that it knows. It's going to be Prisma. So the type of the filters is Prisma dot project like where input. Is that right? And what are you saying here? Context session is possibly null. Okay, that's fair. Right, so it's just saying, because it's a public procedure, the context could be undefined. So that's fair. So current user only, that will only work if the user is authenticated. That's fine. So now what we're doing is we're adding that in, and then we get our filters here. So now let's see our like button. Cool. And now what we want to also do is we want to add the query. So this we're going to do here, we're going to say const project likes query. That's it. And then the first piece of the puzzle here is we're going to say the slug. It's not called get project likes though. It's called get likes count. And then the slug is going to be project.slug, and we only want to enable this if we have a slug. That's when we're going to fetch it. And then we're going to say data is that's cool, and let's just console log. Let us actually just quickly check this if there is like project, and then I'm going to remove this now, and then I'm just going to say how many likes are in here. Probably don't need to do that. .count. Let's just see. 1. So this returns data JSON 1. So there you go. So what we can see now is we're fetching this project, and now we're fetching the likes. We see we had 1. That's from the like we did before. So if we jump into the Land Rover now, project slug, okay? So the project hasn't loaded yet. We need to just do a safety there. So this project has 0 likes. Now if I click this, it's going to create a new like, and we see a little problem there. We need to invalidate that query. So what we're going to add on here is on success, we want to not show a success message, but we actually want to go and grab the invalidate function. So we're going to do, just look for it. So we need tRPC use context. And you can see why I was thinking about a hook, because we've got a lot of logic in this component already, so we can move it into a hook in a second. But so what we want to do is we want to look at project likes, and we're going to say to get likes for image slug. We're going to say invalidate. So on success, what we want to do is we want to invalidate for slug, project slug. That's it. All right. Let's see. Let's try again on a different one. So on this one. Now when we click on this, boom. Liking the project, and that's that easy. Now, next piece. We also want to see if, so this is this is total likes. This is to create a like. And then what we want to have is user likes. So this is going to be const user project likes query. Sure, we'll call it that. And we're going to say slug. Yep, that's great. But then we also want to say current user only. No. Yeah. Cool. And enabled as if we have a project slug. Get likes there. All right. Let us see what we get here. So if we now look, what is our data 1? So this user has liked that. Now the thing is, we're going to have to be able to try and find and log in as a different user. So that'll create us a little challenge. But so here now what we have is user project likes count. Now what we do here is, if there is a user likes count, so they've liked it before, the action will be not create but delete. Because now if you're like, I've liked this, oh no, I don't like this thing, you want to unlike it. So now what we have to do is we have to do the reverse. We have to clear that like out of the DB. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to say if there's a user like count, firstly, let's set up the delete function. So we're going to say over here, we're going to say new, we're going to say delete project like, right? And this is a protected procedure again, because you can't only do it if you're logged in. Z object open that up, and it takes the slug, and then it's going to do a mutation. So I'm just going to grab all this from the top here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say delete, right? And now what we have to do is we have to say where. We're going to say where project, no, ID, so slug is input slug, and also user ID, come on mate, ID is context.session.user.id. Right, and then the data disappears. All right, so just having a look at the docs, what we need to do is just, instead of having delete, so delete just uses the project. So if you'll see here, we're getting a complaint where it says project like where unique input doesn't support these properties. So if we jump into Prisma over here and look for the type, you can see that this type only exports, supports two things: ID, so the specific ID of the like, and then this compound unique input. So we're not going to use that. What we want to do instead is just say delete many. It doesn't know at this stage, by the look of things, that there can only be one. So what we're going to just say is delete many, and then what we can do is we can find all the records where the project and the user ID match. And that's fine. So that'll, in the end of the day, we know it's going to delete one, but to satisfy Prismas here and the types, all good. So now we have our delete project like. Cool, so we'll close this one off and go here. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to have the delete like. I'm going to change create like, delete like. So this is going to be another mutation here. So we're going to have that. Let's see if it's got it. Delete project like, yes. Delete project like function, yes. Again, once it's deleted, we want to invalidate the fetch and go and grab them again. If we get a user project like count greater than 0, we are then going to say they've liked this, so we can delete it. So we're going to say user project count greater than 0. We're going to say delete. Otherwise, create. So to do this nicely, how can we make this look good? So we're going to say there. We're going to have delete, Otherwise, so we'll bring that in line, bring that to there, and then bring this guy in line, bring it to there. And this is going to be delete project function with the slug of that. And what is this saying? Is possibly undefined. So maybe we say, we can look here for truthy. So 0 will become falsy. So if we force this in, so if we did it 0, it's false. So if they had none, it'd be false. If it's 1, it'll be true. All right, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to force this into a Boolean. So if we have true, that means they've got a count. The on click will be a delete. If we have a create, otherwise we're going to do create. Okay. Now, also what we can do for the basics here, just showing how this button works. If you have liked it, how about we style the button here? I don't think that's the right thing. Let's see what's color scheme. Color scheme is, so this is going to be red and gray. Sure, why not? If you've liked it, it's red. If you haven't, it's gray. Let's check that works on this whole Hilux here. Cool. So I'm now going to hit like. It's red. Now, when I click it again, it should do delete. Boom. Job done. That's it. So it looks like we don't need this one. What's this saying? Is assigned user project likes query. Oh, whoops. Okay, so maybe we do. Let's just see. I was grabbing the data from the wrong place. So let's just try this again. So like, unlike, like, unlike. What's that doing in our DB? Where are you? There we go. Like, there it is. Unlike, gone. That's it. All right, so we got likes and unlike. But as you can see, this is getting a bit full up. So we can refactor this. What I do need to do is log in as another user. So let me get that set up and I'll be right back. All right, I have just noticed something. So when we're not logged in, it's still showing the button that we've liked it. Now, what's happening there is we're passing through the param, but because the ID is possibly undefined, Prisma is probably stripping that out and then generating SQL where that is missing. So that's just going to return all the things and then say, hey, you've liked it. But I haven't because I'm not logged in. So let us see what it's doing here. It's probably this query here. And you can see that's page views. Sorry. So what I'll do is I'll clear this. I'll run this again. And let us get a look at what we're getting back. So if we go into network, and then we look at project likes. So we've got, oh, that payload's hard to read, but if we go into here, you can see 1 and 1. And that's not correct. So if we look at project likes, if we can find it here, project likes. Select count. Project likes, where project like inner join projects, and you can see there's no inner join on users. Same thing here. So that is showing us that it's not working. So what we can do is, if there's no user ID, oh yeah. Okay, so what we're going to say is if there's no user ID, so the user ID is normally going to be a UUID, which I can show you. The user ID will look like this. But what we're going to say is if the user's not logged in, we're not going to have that. So we're just going to say it is unauthenticated. Now we should basically get, if we refresh this page, there we go. So this user obviously can't have liked it because we don't even know who they are. So I think that's going to be the hack that I'm going to put in play there. Now, we also want to say this is disabled. So we are going to need to check the current user in here, because what we're going to also have to do is if there is no current user, we need to disable this button. So there's no session. So we will have to check that. So we can get to that piece as well. So that button's like when you're not logged in, I want to actually redirect you to the login page and then back here again. So that's cool. So let's do that. So what I've also done now in the meantime is added another user that we can log in as. So if we go into login with auth0, this is the dev2 user. So now if we jump into these builds, we should see that the project's been liked once, but it's not red, which means that I haven't liked it. So now if I hit like, there we go. We got 2 likes and I can unlike it. Perfect. So now we have the ability for multiple users to like our project, and it shows and we can delete likes. Now the final piece of this is to actually go in and update this so that you can't like it. So if you're not logged in. So we're going to look for here, I'm going to look for, do we have a use session? Yep. So from next auth, we're going to grab use session. Chuck that in here, get rid of this guy. So now we've got our session data. Right, and let's console log that. See what we have. What do we have? We got a user and an expiry. So now what we want to also do is, how are we invalidating? So if there's session data user ID, that's what we want to look for. So basically, if you don't have this, it's either disabled if we have no slug, or no session data user ID. Thank you, Copilot. That's exactly what we want. So we have no session data, the button is disabled. So now if I see the button's still enabled for me, I can still do stuff because I'm logged in. Now if I jump out of this guy, jump in here, this button should be disabled. Nope, it's not. It's still looking that it's working. So disabled, no session data. No projects like that button should be disabled. But you can see that it's firing there, so that's not right. But it is saying we're unauthorized, so it actually is doing nothing, which is good. Let us just see why. Is there, maybe, let's just see if this thing even has a disabled prop. Let's try that, is disabled. That could just be me. Terminology. Yeah, that's it, okay. So the props is disabled. Sorry, Chakra, that was my fault. So, I mean, what I also want to do here is, if we don't have a user login, so it's session data, right? So if we have session data, then it's a button, otherwise it's an anchor tag. And then what we want to say is the href is if we have a session data. I mean, look at Copilot, pretty much knows exactly what's going on here. What's this saying? Do you mean href? So when we have a user ID, it's undefined, that's great. And then when we don't, we want to go to the sign-in page with users login. So we want to do users login. And we want to do, from our last episode, we want to pass in this, and then we want to actually pass in the slug. So here we're going to pass in this project.slug, and this is going to be interpolated string, right? So let's see. So we actually don't want it to, maybe we don't even need this disabled prop. Okay, so see now when we hover over it, it's going to log in and it's going to do a redirect. So if we click on that, log in with auth 0, logs us in and brings us straight back here and ready to go. Awesome. So that's great. So we can remove this disabled prop. We don't actually need it. Cool. So we are very close to being done. The next piece is we just want to have an icon. So let's see, we've got icons. We're using React icons. So let's go back there and let's look for, we want a heart. It's a pretty cool one. So we're going to import hi heart. I think it's outline. What are you called, mate? hi heart. hi heart, there. hi heart, and then also hi heart outline. What are you, mate? hi outline heart. hi heart, hi outline heart. Yep. That's interesting. They have two of almost identical. Anyway, let's give that a go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say there's an icon on this button. Icon. Left icon. And then we're going to say, if we have user project likes count, it's a heart, otherwise it's like it's done this before. Let's see what that looks like. So it's got a heart, and then if we unlike it, boom, that's it. So what we can do now is the text is going to change, and we're going to just say likes. And we'll remove the brackets. Let's see, how does that normally look? I'm trying to think. We probably don't need the brackets. We might not even, you know what, we don't even need the word. Let's just go like this. Cool. And here we're going to say width is auto. That's probably going to be 50%. Great. Size. Size is going to be large. Large button. Great. Now, so that's that one. So that's it. So let's go here and just say, we can leave that and we can just chuck this on here. So we're going to add this under here for now. And we're going to chuck a new box. And we're going to just add a margin top here of 4. That's that. What we're going to do here actually with the like button is I'm going to make this width. Take that away. So instead of using box here, we're going to use flex. And if we set the width to 100%, does that help us? No. So now the like button, let's just make that 100%. Cool, because yeah, what I want to do is I want to add another button next to it, which will be how many parts this thing's had. So for now, that's it. So what we've done is we'll quickly run through this. So what have we done? We have added the ability to like and unlike and fetch product likes. I'm also just going to quickly console log, make sure we get rid of all these things. Don't want the session data anymore. Thank you. Refresh this guy. All right, so what do? We added the project like model, which links a project and a user, has a created at and updated time. It's unique for project ID and user ID because you can only like one thing once. We created the button component, which in the future looks like it will need a refactor. Then we have added the button to the project slug screen so that it shows up. We added the new router to tRPC, the for project likes. And inside of that router, we have the create project like, the get likes count for project slug. And in that method, we have the ability to show only likes for that current user. And we also have the ability to delete a project like so that you can unlike something. So that's it. So after all of that, we now can like builds and get those dopamine levels flying. Thank you.